Yeah, so I think the only topic for today that's really on everybody's mind right now, who's a Siebel enthusiast like you are and I am, is Siebel 25.6. So before we start with that, a quick reminder that we have the most modern, always up-to-date Siebel CRM curriculum on the Siebel Hub, and it's also available on Oracle University, just in case you missed that memo. And now, of course, the team is busy to add yet another module like the enterprise cache. So the always up-to-date curriculum, the subscription allows you to have a 1 year subscription and get updates. As Oracle develops new features, updates will be made to the training. So yeah, if you haven't already, check out our curriculum on siebelhub.com. Shameless plug here, but it's Siebel Friday. So, and here's the list of all the features and highlights from 25.6. So it's really quite a lot. So let's check it out here. We have the Java 21 migration to, yeah, so Java, bye-bye Java 8 or JRE 8. Hello, JRE 21. There's an optional feature which attracts a lot of interest, Coherence Enterprise Cache. For example, for runtime repository, we have what Oracle Oracle calls the process-driven Redwood UX. Yes, Redwood is coming to Siebel, the real Redwood, that is. And we have for upgrades, there's a utility we quickly cover. Um, I think related to the Java 21 migration, there's new installers for DISA, SAM, and EMS. That is the email email server. Those Java-based utilities, they get a new Oracle Universal Installer. And yeah, there's a little bit of authentication update on Apache Kafka. You can use OAuth Bearer now. And the Tomcat hikes up to 10 as related to the Java 21 update. So now Tomcat 10 is in charge of your application containers. All right, so that's quite a lot. So get started with the Java 21 update. So what does that mean? There is a chapter in Bookshelf which you should definitely read. So it's not your regular run-of-the-mill Siebel update like 25.5, just a few bug fixes. This update will change or introduce a new Java runtime. As it always it ships with Siebel, like the JRE8 ships with Siebel. Now it's a JRE21. And there's a guide in the Siebel upgrade guide. There's a whole chapter where most of these steps are taken from. So make sure to read all the available docs and release notes, especially the Siebel release notes as they come with the installer. And then take a backup of your third-party jar files and also make sure that you have access to your uh, custom Java code, as you need to recompile it with a Java 21 JDK and put them in the lib folder in your internal application container. Also, there's advisory for JMS related stuff, which should now use Jakarta, which is the new standard in Java 21. The Tomcat, as mentioned, goes to 10.x, which comes with a new schema for server.xml. So some customizations might need to be reapplied. Yeah, so it's quite something. So anybody has any experience already to share on the update?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, so what do you want to share?
Well, there's a bug in the Siebel.war file
Yes,
that
that
has to
is.
be removed. So you have to actually do the update, then copy the Siebel war file over, make a copy of it, update, remove live for web something jar,
Lo-
2331 something
Log,
jar.
the log4j, it conflicts with Jakarta, I recall, yeah.
Yeah, and then put that back on. Oh, you have to delete the Siebel war file while
Well,
you still have the AI up.
basically, uh, in the go shut down your Tomcats. They're not starting up anyway. Go
Well, no, you can't. You can't. You have to have Tomcat up when you delete the Siebel war file, so it deletes the Siebel folder.
or you can delete it manually. That's it will be
Well, that
created
too.
when
Yeah,
the Tomcat starts up. Yeah.
yeah. The
So it's
instructions I got from support was
yeah.
to leave Siebel war, and then
Mhm.
eventually it'll delete the Siebel folder,
Yeah. Right.
and then shut down Tomcat, put the Siebel war that you've modified over, start Tomcat, and it will work. And
Right.
you have to do this for all your AIs. And
Uh,
I've noticed that all the AIs have the same footprint, basically.
mhm.
The gateway and the server, those two war files on the internal
They're
are
different.
are a lot bigger,
Yeah.
but they are the same. So
Yeah.
if you,
Internal and external Tomcat, you have different war files. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I only did the war files for AIs in the external, and that's because we install 5 or 6 AIs for our interfaces
Hmm.
for different groups
Yes.
based on OAuth. So we have like 5 different interfaces. So each group has their own client ID secret. And then gateway is usually on one server and the Sieve servers are on other servers. So I
Yeah.
only need to do the internals for the gateway and the server, and the AI is only the external.
Yeah. Okay. So there is currently the release notes have the information. If you get the software now, go to that zip file which has the release notes. There is information in the release notes about that bug, and also there's a support article uh, on
Right.
that. Right? Yeah. Uh, Also, when you have customizations in the server XML, for example, in your Tomcat 9, you must check the Tomcat 10 server XML if those customizations were merged. Probably not, as there's a new structure and you need to reapply those customizations. So that is another memo for migrating to Tomcat 10. And I've just recently updated the training machines that we use for the Siebel training. And that was a Windows migration. And I also noticed that the Windows debug service, which is Java, must be removed and reinstalled. The DBGs, the debug service on development environments. There's the there's the yeah there's the document ID on MOS for that Siebel warfix. And I couldn't start the Tomcat without setting the full path to the Java virtual machine in the Windows settings. There's a relative path there, and I had to override that to the correct path. Um,
Yeah, I had
also,
to do the same thing for mine as I used
okay,
to
yeah,
use the OS's JRE. I had to change the Java home to always point to the
yeah, to
Siebel
the Siebel
JRE
ship
folder.
JRE, yeah. And also on Windows, at least, the settings that you have in your memory, Java memory settings, etc., for those Windows services, since it recreates the Windows 10 services from scratch, those memory settings are gone. I'm not sure that's intentional, but when you did previous Siebel updates, when Tomcat 9 was still there, those settings were preserved. They are not preserved well during the Tomcat 10 migration. So yeah, so you need to be able to understand all these issues, resolve them, maybe run a sandbox update on a machine you can just throw away. Don't don't do it on any live system. Uh, And once you update it, you have not only new Java, you also have coherence jar files, the coherence server and client Java files on your shipped with Siebel, and that supports the coherence enterprise cache uh, for in-memory caching of various aspects of Siebel. As Oracle documents it in the bookshelf guide and the system administration guide, it is for runtime repository caching. So that's supposed to, well, impressively speed up the startup time for a Siebel server or components once the cache is filled. Also, the caches for user preferences, responsibilities, organizations, and positions to speed up the application or API login. So that's true for REST API as well. Also, Oracle puts in the bookshelf guide they mention view navigation being faster since many times view navigation triggers an RR lookup, runtime repository lookup, and the API transaction throughput is also reported to be higher. This is optional, so it's not implemented by default. You have to enable it, and there's a guide in bookshelf how to do it. There's also a TOI provided by Oracle, and yeah, I'm also actively working on a new course module. So
I
uh,
was confused about the node thing. Do I
no,
have to create a separate server or can I put it on the same server like I
um,
do
well,
with Gateway and
yeah, the architecture is such that you have to have at least one coherence node. Oracle recommends three for high availability, and they should naturally be on different machines. Um, I think it could be the same machine, but it should be a different installation because it's an internal Tomcat. The internal Tomcat has the binaries, the Java binaries for coherence, but it will be dedicated, like the Kafka, a little bit like the Kafka sidecar, which is like a dedicated internal Tomcat, just doing the one thing. So coherence, there's a lot of load on the coherence cache, as you can imagine, uh, because all the components, they kind of redirect the database traffic to the coherence cache, and that's massive. So I think that's the reason why I should have dedicated machines and dedicated installations of the internal Tomcat. But
okay.
Yeah, it also keeps your Siebel server from suffering from what coherence is doing if it's on the same machine.
exactly. So that's, yeah, if you put it on the same machine as your Siebel server, you won't have any gains because that Siebel server is going crazy, right?
So if I have it on a gateway, which is not, I have gateway and AI on one server, and my SQL servers are on their own servers. Would that work? Because I'm not going to get money to give me a server just to make it a little faster.
Yeah, see, Nick, you can put it on this any machine you want. It's just which one do you want to have the performance impact on? So if you think your gateway can handle it, then that's fine.
Okay.
We
And
just
it
don't
doesn't
want
do
you to put
anything
it on
but
the Siebel
gateway.
server machine.
Yeah, gateway does AI and gateway. It doesn't do anything else.
Yeah, so definitely try it and see if it works for you. If you have a performance impact because it's on that machine, then obviously that's not the machine to put it on. But if it works fine, then you're okay.
Okay. I
How
was
much
just confused about node meant. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so node is a coherence term. It just means a machine in which you're running coherence.
Okay.
Yeah.
how
And
much memory should we expect for that to take up?
The cache is set to be about 2 GB, and what that has
Okay.
in it is it's backs. If you have a cluster, which we recommend, where you have, let's say, 2 or 3 machines with the cache on it, the coherence or the 2 GB will be taken up by like a third of it will be that nodes or that coherence instance, the data that's in it. It'll also have a third of it backing up another node, another machine. And then a third will be scratch space. So we recommend you have 6 GB of RAM dedicated to it in your JVM. But the cache itself will be a 2 GB data amount of data.
Okay. Does this also reduce the memory footprint of the Siebel server since the cache is somewhere else now?
It should.
Okay.
That has not been relayed to me, but it makes sense that it would.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
and one thing that I noticed when I worked on the documentation and setting up the enterprise cache. So if there's time, I can show you how far I got with that. Is that it's a pure in-memory cache. It has no persistence. So when you bounce that Tomcat, your cache will be erased and it will have to be rebuilt, which happens when you restart your Siebel servers or any component looks up an object. When it doesn't find it in the cache, it looks it up from database and then populates the cache. But it's in memory only. Is that correct, Kerry?
Yes.
Yeah.
So coherence allows you to save the stuff to disk, but we have not tested that, and we couldn't give you any performance numbers based on persistence to the disk. That's going to come probably in an upcoming release, but right now, if you want to save your data to disk, you can do it because coherence allows quite a bit of things. It's just that we haven't tested it. So when you complain to us, hey, this blah, 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 we're going to say we're not ready for that yet.
Yeah. So yeah, coherence is quite the beast. I've looked up a little bit on that. I remember the days when it was called Tango Soul,
Yeah.
which was the company, and there's still the the Tango reference. So there's quite a lot of community around coherence. So for example, there's this, just show it on the screen. So there's this coherence community page, which has a community edition for coherence. So you can download it and experiment with it and learn for free. I guess that's the purpose of the community edition, no? To be free. And there's a lot of examples and even a YouTube channel. So the modern coherence is nothing like the Tango Soul that was there 20 years ago. So yeah, it's definitely something. And it's great to see it reappear in Siebel. Reappear because coherence was in Siebel 17 until I can't remember 20 dot something.
I don't know what happened there, but here it is again.
Yeah, it was there actually to support the configurator cache. There was this developer mode configurator cache you could enable.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. And
Yeah.
and that used coherence. Did I say cohere? Yeah, coherence. And Cohere is also in Siebel now because of AI integration. No? Yeah, so coherence is the cache server. Just to confuse everybody.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
also part of WebLogic. So you'll notice it in like BIP and EDQ and those other applications.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's also part of WebLogic, and it's used in a lot of Oracle products, I guess.
Yeah, we're intending to use it for a bunch of features coming out.
Okay, cool, very cool. So you're just getting started. It's fair to
Yeah.
say. And there's even two new eScript methods to actually for developers to use the cache as a key value store that it is. It's a string-based key value store. So you have a key, which is a string, and you have a value, which is a string. So there's a put dcache and a get dcache method on the application now, which is sure interesting. I haven't tried it, and not sure if there's a lot of use cases, but it's definitely interesting to see that becoming new methods in eScript. And yeah, the next surprise, if you will, with 25.6 is you have to run the repository upgrade for that. And if you have the customer order management enabled, you might know there are a lot of workflows and task UIs for customer order management already. And there are new tasks for task-based, as in task-based UI, coming with this repository upgrade. And along with those, there's a lot of JavaScript and a lot of manifest entries, which you might see run across your log files as you do the upgrade, the repo upgrade. And once you log into Redwood, you have to be logged in a Redwood theme application and start these tasks. They look like this, like you see on the screen. So which looks nothing like a Siebel UI anymore. It's the pure Redwood UI powered by Oracle Chat. So Oracle ships the entire Redwood stack, Oracle Chat components with Siebel OpenUI. And those two sample tasks, I call them sample tasks because I think they're showcasing how to do it. They are using those new physical renderers. There's a chat adapter for Oracle Chat. And I haven't really gotten my hands on this. I'm teaching a Siebel OpenUI masterclass these days, and people were very excited about this. And you can give it a try, running these tasks from the Redwood theme, and it's really something. And I think also, would it be correct to say, Kerry, if Oracle is just getting started here, does it mean that Redwood UX, the real Redwood, is coming to Siebel?
Yes.
Okay, that's great to hear. Yeah. So will it be an option, or too early to ask maybe, but will it be an option or will it be kind of mandatory, like OpenUI was mandatory someday?
That's undetermined at this point. They've just begun working on that.
Okay, so
I
those
think
two.
Don't make it mandatory, please. Please don't. I can't take any more mandatory.
Got it, Nick.
Okay, yeah. So
I think it just so that you can build your custom layer using Oracle Chat, like previously we would use, I don't know, React or Vue.js. But I don't think there are any plans that one day you have a release, Alex, where everything is turned into Oracle Chat components. So I think it's kind of giving you more an option, and more and more flows, particularly for telecom clients, they will be sort of migrated into this task-based UI using Oracle Chat components.
okay.
Because obviously, just to change all the Siebel, that's like too much of the effort, and you wouldn't be able to upgrade, I think, kind of easily from.
Yeah, especially OpenUI customizations will totally break because
Yeah,
not compatible with Chat.
and of course, like Redwood components, they are much richer than list form applets and infolets you have in Siebel. But from something which is very simple to something very complex, I think it's kind of very difficult to have like a default upgrade, right? So I think it's more like a implementation. If you want to make a very nice looking UI, and I also really like Redwood design system as such,
Yeah.
instead of going to some strange third-party tools like Nexus Bridge, now you can do it with pure Oracle tooling. So which is, I think, is good.
Yeah, okay. And I think we know where this comes from the Oracle digital business experience, which has a similar approach using Siebel, but with Oracle Redwood as the UI.
And I think it's not really like a sample, as you say, but this is like productized user flows for particular things, right? So, and they will be kind of adding more and more of those.
Okay, that's a great initiative. And of course, now there goes my summer vacation because I have to learn Oracle Chat now. Yeah.
It's React, Alex, so no worries.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not the Oracle Chat that was released like 10 years ago. It's something.
Yeah, so you're referring to Oracle Jet 1, and after that they migrated to Oracle Jet 2. And now all the Redwood stuff is done with Oracle Jet 2, which is based on React framework. So
okay, React. Right. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of information on Redwood, Oracle Redwood and Chat, which is the engine behind Oracle Redwood. And going back to the basics of Siebel, if you use DISA desktop integration Siebel agent, then you're also in for a little surprise. that, of course, it's based on Java 21 now. Not sure if that's totally related, but with 25.6, Oracle introduces the Oracle Universal Installer for these 3 little Java-based utilities that were formerly installed with, I forgot the name, a third-party installer. And now it's Oracle Universal Installer. So you basically have to uninstall it, give it a fresh install, and as the bookshelf states, from then you can continue with updates as you go through the monthly updates. So I tested that. I have DSA 25.6 installed with the Oracle installer, and it lays it down perfectly fine. That's my experience. So yeah, another thing that you come across when you read the documentation on 25.6 is in the upgrade guide, there's a mention of a utility, which is definitely interesting for people, for projects who are on IP16 or earlier and more or less desperately need to upgrade to Siebel 25 because of various reasons. And there is a long-standing migration going on. I observed for the past years that long columns in Oracle, such as, for example, used in smart scripts and along the way, or there are end text or text in MS SQL Server. They are migrated to character large object in Oracle and nvarchar and varchar in MS SQL Server. To especially on Oracle, you noticed that Siebel eScript for years ago, it lost that limitation of 16,000 characters, and it's now a character large object. And I'm not sure about the implications of this, but there's a utility that supports that migration without data loss. And I haven't read too much about it, but I guess it's also part of the standard upgrade when you run it. Or if anybody can shed some light on this.
Alex, I don't know if it's like in post-install DB setup, so I think it might be optional. I'm just
Yeah,
not sure.
maybe I noticed that some of these utilities run as part of a regular upgrade when you run the upgrades from IP15 or such. But it's definitely good to know that there's another upgrade helper to make the upgrade more smooth. Yeah, here's some detail on that Kafka authentication. So the Kafka integration event publication subscription in 25.6 now supports a total of 4 authentication mechanisms. That is the various SASL here and OAuth bearer, which is new. Yeah, but again, not tested, just noticed from the bookshelf. Okay, so these are the highlights for 25.6, and I want to go back to the coherence because I've been setting up the coherence today on a training machine to prepare for our new training module. And I have that machine up. Give me one moment to just bring it up. Yeah, so I thought it would be a fun way to well, explore this new feature, to have a machine where it's installed. So it took some time today to get it going. So I started by installing an internal Tomcat on this machine, which has all the other. It's a Siebel training machine, so it runs everything on one machine. So it's not your typical setup. But here you can see that's an internal Tomcat hosting the coherence cache server now. So that's dedicated. So I placed it in a folder, Siebel cache. But you can see once you are in there, it's a regular Siebel installation. But that internal Tomcat plays an important role now as hosting the coherence cache server. But of course, you have to deploy it. You have to deploy it there first, like you deploy your AI or deploy other stuff. And for that, Oracle has created new profile types in Zookeeper, which of course, when you log in with SMC, like I do here, go to profiles, you see the new ones are Enterprise Cache Server and Enterprise Cache Client. So that cache server profile you must create according to the bookshelf guide, and then use it to deploy an enterprise cache server. So there are, here's the Tango reference again. So that's the cluster configuration, the name of the cluster that your cluster nodes will join, the well-known addresses, which are the list of nodes with their IP addresses or host names. I use the loopback because I'm on the same machine.
Yeah, that won't work if you do it on a different machine.
Yeah, of course, that's important.
Yeah.
It's just that works because it's on the same machine. And you have to use real, I think host names is a better idea than IP addresses since they are resolved,
Yeah.
especially with containers or stuff like that. And then there's the cache configuration where you define the name of your cache, and Siebel cache is the default name. So there's a component parameter or enterprise parameter, which carries what is the cache for the enterprise or individual components. And Siebel cache is the default. So I kept that. And then you have a scheme name. And there you have, sorry, down here you have the definition of that scheme. So it uses a backup scheme, and I have no idea what I'm talking about right now. Right? I know
Scheme is the way that one coherence instance or node backs up another in the cluster. So it has some of their data, not all of it. It's not completely duplicated, but that's what that is for.
Okay, and that's kind of the default you're recommending for now, to use the distributed scheme with backup.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an in-memory scheme.
Yep.
Pure in memory, no persistence. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, and there's the, here, for example, there's the eviction policy, and here's the cache size you mentioned. I set it up to 3.5 gig, just felt a little bit experimental. And here's the eviction policy you can set for when the cache exceeds that memory size. Throw out the least recently used or least frequently used, or a hybrid approach is combining the two. And I just read that up a few minutes ago. Okay, I'm just learning. So yeah, there's also a proxy, which is using coherence extend, which allows, for example, C++ based clients. Again, I read that half an hour ago.
Yeah. That's right, because we're using a C++ to contact.
Yeah, Siebel is written C++, so it's not using the regular TCP/IP connectivity to coherence. Right. It has to use that extend proxy. So you set up a service on coherence to act as that proxy, and it starts listening for connections from the same machine on a port, connections to that port. And that is for basically, there's another secret in the Siebel implementation. There is an SSH tunnel between the Siebel, between the coherence client and the coherence server. So AKA your Siebel server and the coherence cache server. And that tunnel makes it more secure, right? Is that correct, Kerry?
Right. We didn't want everything going back in plain text because we don't know what kind of data might be stored in the cache. It might be personal information. So
the in-transit data is secured by an SSH tunnel. On Windows, you get an installer for SSH server. The client is already on Windows. On Linux, you have both already. So yeah, you set up your profile, and you might, when you are in edit mode, you notice there's an advanced button. When you press that, the entire configuration changes to the XML representation, which is actually used by the coherence software. So it doesn't read the Zookeeper. It reads that XML, which is generated out of the Zookeeper information. Am I right, Kerry? So I'm saying this right? Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. You can also start putting in your specialized configurations here and also here for the cache configuration. So there are two different files, and you can choose to use the user interface in SMC or just go advanced mode if you know what you're doing. Of course, that's coherence is driven by these XML configuration files. So yeah, so that's for the server configuration. So you have that, Alexei put a message in the chat. So the enterprise cache server is an internal Tomcat dedicated to run a coherence cache node. Yeah, and keep that up and running most of the time, I guess, because it would destroy whatever it has in cache when you stop and start it. So keep it
So
up.
if you have a cluster, though, not everything will be lost because let's say you have a
Yeah,
three server, some of it will be cached as a backup in
yeah,
another server. It's like a round
some of
robin.
it, as you said, yeah. So I went ahead and to Siebel deployment. So there's a new deployment type when you click plus. Already done it. Not sure if that's like, how do you deploy additional nodes if you can do it only once? I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
that's an annoying thing that we're going to fix.
Okay. So that is not just me, right? So I did deploy successfully on that internal Tomcat. So it's very similar to deploying Siebel servers. You point to that internal Tomcat's port and choose your profile and submit that, and it will deploy everything on that node. So now there's a coherence cache server running on that machine, and you need to connect to it. So the next thing you do is to set up the cache client profile, which is information for the client software, which is basically the Siebel server components. And those read it from an XML file, which is extracted from this information, but it's on every Siebel server. So is that correct, Kerry? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah. The terms are a little confusing because we're using cache and server and client differently. The Siebel server is a client
Is
of the
acting as a client
coherence.
in
Yeah.
coherence. Yeah.
And the coherence nodes, each one is considered a server.
Yeah. So the clients must be able to connect to the server. So most of this information I find related to basically what's the cache I'm connecting to.
Mhm.
And there's a scheme which defines the service, which is that proxy service on the server we have just seen. And then there's what is the list of hosts. And there's only one in that list. That's my only server on that same machine. And there's a little bit of heartbeat settings. And here's the SSH configuration for the tunnel, which defines the machine to connect to, and the two port numbers typically the same because it's a tunnel.
So
But
what if you have more than the one cache server? So you just specify a list here?
you specify everywhere you see that plus, that's for each server.
Oh, okay.
So you add these entries, like that's one server here. You add your entries for
Okay.
the other machines. Yeah, and again, that client configuration is editable as XML, and it's also written to XML once you submit that, and that resides on the Siebel server for every component for the coherence client software to actually read it. And it's an interesting profile because it's actually not actively deployed. It's just stored in Zookeeper. So there's no deployment for a cache client. So that's just information that's then distilled into XML. So there are also parameters you need to set, if I can memorize them, on the enterprise level or on the component level. So let me go for parameters. And yeah, just query them. So that's a hidden one. The first one, enable OM distributed cache to true, default being false. So that's what Kerry said. It's optional. You have to turn it on, and that's essentially turns it on for the entire enterprise. And there's also another parameter the coherence cache name, which by default carries that Siebel cache as the name. So if you want to use a different name for your cache or different names for different components, different caches, then you can change this component on the component level as well. Of course, everything needs to be restarted after that, entire enterprise restart. And that very first restart is quite interesting. I have already done it. So there's an enterprise cache page. So you see that the Siebel cache is more or less online. And there's 47,072. I looked it up, Gary, it's the object count.
Okay, I didn't know.
It's the number of objects in the cache. It's not the size in
Wow.
megabytes or whatever. It's the number of objects. I'll show you later why I know, because I remembered my Java education and I enabled JMX. So
You can also query the cache itself.
oh
That's
yes, there's
described
a command line interface. Coherence is a beast. Yeah, you can check on the command line if your cache is online, what's in the cache. And maybe let's do a quick demo of, well, I have some object managers on this server, which I could stop and then restart. So let's bring down a few. Let's bring down the XMLP. And let's bring down this one, eClinical Mobile. Okay, should be done by now. No, I did use shutdown fast. Well, let me kill them. Don't do this at home, all right? It's a training machine. Okay, so now they're shut down for good. Yes, so what I'm doing next is go to Task Manager. And here is the Tomcat that hosts the internal Tomcat hosting the cache. You see, it's memory-wise, it's quite significant already. So it uses a lot of memory. I observed that. Here's my Oracle database on the same machine. So it's actually quite a bonus to have it on the same machine. And as I will start these components, we should actually see the cache, the Tomcat being active rather than the database. So let's try. I'll then put that side by side. And let's start the XMLP server first. So take a look at the task manager. Yeah, that Tomcat was busy. I wasn't sorting by CPU. Oracle databases as well. So I'm not sure it's a good example with XML Publisher. But definitely we see the cache also being active, the cache server. So it's already up. So now let's start that other regular object manager.
Well, in startup, isn't it like reading the runtime repository record from the database and then inserting it into the cache?
Yeah, basically when the cache is totally empty, the components will look up information in the cache and will not find anything. And they will then go to the database and retrieve that the traditional way. And then, of course, put it in the cache. So populate the cache as they go. So I will shut down the server and so now you see, yeah, you see quite clearly now. The Oracle database is way down and the cache is actually delivering. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Quite clearly, yeah. So Yeah, the cache server has delivered probably most of what this component needed for startup because it has already started up on this server and it had already put everything in the cache. And since most of the definitions in the runtime repository, like a business component, uh, are used by many object managers, the first one to load it loads it for everybody else, for all the other components. So that's my interpretation, right? It's very early on. I'm still
Yeah.
learning this. Carrie, please correct me.
So it works. Yeah. The first time anyone asks for a piece of data and it's not in the cache, they get it from the database and put it in the cache. And then everyone else uses that from then on.
Yeah. So as another experiment, we can just bring down the entire Siebel server, which will take a while. So in the meantime, let me look up message the chat, not the cache, the chat. So Alexei asked, with this coherent setup, would it be possible to hand over active Siebel user sessions from one object manager to another if the first one crashed? So that user session handover that we don't have. With I think Carrie answered this. Yeah.
Yeah. So the user's
Mm.
context for that session is cached. And if a component goes down and they go to another component, it's still going to get it from the cache. So it should be seamless.
Yeah, but
So
that
does that mean
session,
we can do a rolling restart without kicking people out?
that
I
rolling
don't
restart.
know.
As, well,
Well,
you can do
It
if you have.
seems,
Sorry, go
yeah,
on, Carrie.
it seems like you could.
But
Because their user session is in the cache, the
yeah, because
context.
well, like for example, if you had 3 Siebel servers and 3 cache servers, and you restarted one of those Siebel servers that had 10 users on it, would those users even know? Because they would get a session on one of the other servers, right?
I, I don't think
Right,
that
and the
would.
context would remain, yeah.
But are are you absolutely sure? Because that would be kind of a very big change.
Well, I can tell you this, that when a user logs in, their responsibilities, their positions, their organizations, all of that sort of thing is cached
That's cached. But
for that user.
But when that Siebel server stops, they're losing their session.
Right.
So that the question was about the session being handed over
Oh,
to
they would,
another
yeah, it
object
wouldn't be
manager.
handed over. That's not handled in the cache. They would still have to establish a new session, but their user context data is still cached.
That's
Okay.
true. The responsibility, organization, position, that's still in the cache. So the next login would be faster.
Yeah.
But not the session would be lost anyway, like it would be lost in earlier versions of Siebel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
not caching sessions.
Yeah. Okay, just to make that clear, because at least I was confused.
Is that something that's planned for the future?
Not yet. It's not in our backlog.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Just curious.
Okay, yeah. So So I've stopped my Siebel server. So now let's see a Siebel server startup. The cache is online, so it is still populated. And so I'll start the entire Siebel server now, which, as you can see, there's the typical interview of the Siebel server with Zookeeper reading the configuration. So that's the Siebel talking to Zookeeper. And a few moments later, it will spawn the server components, which will then in turn hopefully read more of the cache than from the database. And again, we should see that cache server. Let me grab it. I should see that become very busy. Okay. There we go. So first components, and we see the cache server. Well, the Siebel components. There was a bit of Oracle, but there's also a lot of cache. And now, yeah, you see that kind of cache is always, now it's almost on top, yeah. Definitely very busy. And as a bit of icing on the cake, I've used JMX to connect to my Tomcat server, to that internal Tomcat, and I'm using Visual VM 2.2 because I'm a visual guy and I'm a Java. I have some Java education, and I know about Java data, Java beans and MBeans, management beans, and JMX, and I enabled this for Tomcat. And there's Visual VM 2.2, or that Visual VM has a plugin for coherence, so it can deal with the coherence beans. So it's the entire Tomcat I'm monitoring here with Visual VM. But yeah, I have an Oracle coherence tab, so I can see the Siebel cluster, and I can see the machines. There's one machine. I can see the members. So there's this one member currently. I can see the caches. So there's the Siebel cache. Right, I see it's a distributed cache. I see the hit probability being calculated, which is interesting. I think that's kind of the higher, the better. So it's the second or third Siebel server start I'm doing this in this machine. There's this count, the object count. There's 48,000, so that should be the same number in here, right here. Yeah. So that's how I know it's the number of object.
Nice.
Yeah, and the real memory consumption is currently about 186 megabytes. So far cry from the 3.5 gigabytes I have reserved.
Mm.
But it's a single user machine. There's nothing much happening. But still, if you want some visual confirmation what happens, you can resort to JMX and that plugin. Yeah, so that's also something which is nice to have for learning, right? For experimentation. There's so much information here. Well, we see those services. So I think it helps to better understand coherence when you start work. It's like Zookeeper a little bit, no? That was introduced 8 years ago with IP17, and now everybody more or less knows what Zookeeper is and what it does. And with coherence, I think it will be the same learning curve. So yeah, there's that. So we have a little bit of a demo here. I hope you like it. And yeah, going back to that big list of features in 25.6. I think there's something for everybody. And I would like to hear your thoughts on 25.6, and are you considering it as your next update? What are your plans? What are your thoughts? Yeah, microphone's open.
I'm in the process of going 25.6, but the Java 8's killing me.
Okay, because the recompilation you have to do.
Yeah, and how old our code is.
That could be a delay. Yes, definitely.
Other than that, it went pretty smooth. After
Mhm.
the bug fix thing, went pretty smooth. I haven't tried any other functionality
Yeah.
like
So
the DISA. DISA we use a lot.
yeah, I've installed DISA and did some test automation with it. So it works the same way. It's just the installer that's different. And I guess if you have DISA customizations, which few people actually have, but you have to recompile them as well. Mhm.
And we
Yeah.
already have a vulnerability with Tomcat 10.1.28. We needed 34.
Yeah, Tom. That's then the law of nature with Tomcat. Yeah. Yeah. With it's always a security vulnerability. Yeah. So okay, Alexei talks about in the chat about the Siebel.jar. So oh yeah, interesting question. Maybe that I didn't think of that. If you have a JDB or JCA connection to Siebel using the Java data bean, the Siebel jar, you would have to go to Java 28 as well, right? JDK 28, 21, sorry.
So we're using JBS to call our programs. That would be the Java 21, right, Kerry?
Yes. So
Okay.
anything that we ship is going to be Java 21. We've compiled everything using Java 21. So anything that you're including, such as com.siebel.data, that package, we've recompiled that. So you have to recompile yours as well.
Mhm. Okay, and that's also true for the old-fashioned Java data bean
Yeah.
connections from outside to Siebel Object Manager.
Yeah, I think the external applications may be fine.
They don't need to recompile instantly unless they start using the newer libraries, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mhm.
I think if you've written something externally and it's been working, I think it still will work.
Yeah, because it's just sysnappy
Yeah,
connection.
exactly.
Yeah. But if you would, let's say, pull the jar file from 25.6 and put it
Yeah.
in your class path, you need to recompile everything with 21.
Right.
Yeah.
So would this impact like BIP, OAP? Because that, I think, application is still on Java 8. And we have to integrate the Siebel jars into the ear file as part of the deployment process.
Oh, also very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would affect it.
Okay.
JCA could be a risk
So we have to
if
test
you
that.
rely heavily on JCA.
Yeah. The same. Yeah. JCA, JDB.
JDB is
Yeah.
different, but
Mhm.
with all the yeah.
Mhm. I think it needs a lot of testing on the customer
Yes,
side.
yes.
Definitely. Does it run
Yeah.
or does it break? And if it breaks, you need to recompile. Cool. I think that's the conclusion, right?
Yeah. Obviously, we can't test with everything customers have done with Java. So there's probably going to be cases out there that we didn't anticipate.
But I guess you will soon have a good list of customers who use a lot of Java
Yes.
in your Oracle support database.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely something I think. Yeah, from Java 8 to Java 21, nobody argues that Java 21 is the better choice, right? It's 2025. So it had to happen at some point, right? Kerry?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and from here, of course, we will go probably a few years with Java 21, or will there be Java? What's the latest? 24? Is that Java 24?
Yeah, 24.
Yeah. But that's not a long-term release, I guess. I think Java 21 is the long-term release. That's why you picked it.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
LTS. Yeah.
Yeah, LTS. Yeah.
So I think
Kerry, in
if
the chat, I put what we use in our call for our report. So that JBS is 21, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. So yeah, everything JBS is a Java Business Service call. Yeah,
Okay.
and that's the Java Business Service. Yeah, you write in Java. All right. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
so if you jump over the fence, it's a kind of major update. Not in the sense like earlier times, but it's much more than just installing the patch.
Oh yeah, it's definitely
It is.
a bigger release and a more impactful. But
Yeah.
that's true for any future release. So 24.7 will, if you go from 24.7 to 25.7, you also have the migration to Java 21.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah,
So if you
so,
jump over 25.6
oh, that you
from
mean by the
wherever you
fence,
come
yeah.
from,
Mhm.
say you are on the new infrastructure, let's say 22 upwards, then it's a big jump.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is.
okay. But
Plus the ODBC changed.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
yeah,
Tiny MC is difficult.
Tiny MC, yeah, that people still have
I like
PTSD
all the
from that one.
changes. It's just there's a lot of them.
Yeah, but I would say the more the merrier. So keep it coming.
Oh yeah, we have tons of stuff coming.
Yeah.
I kept telling management says I need to get rid of these Java programs. Let me use BI Publisher to do the trip reports. But that's what we're doing to our trip reports with is the Cognos programs that were written in 2009.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's time for migrating back to the standard. Yeah, with that one.
Well, it's gonna be my push.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot to digest for. I'd like to hear from you anytime, maybe next Siebel Friday, because it will be about 25.7 and we'll still be talking about Java 21 and coherence. and what else? We don't know yet. Kerry knows, but he's not supposed to tell us. So yeah, thank you for today, and keep your eyes peeled and your ears pricked on news on Siebel on siebelup.com. Yeah, I hope this was a good Siebel Friday. So have a good Siebel weekend or Siebel-less weekend before you jump right in.
Alex and Kerry, can I talk to you guys real quick on something Alex and I worked on before?
Yeah,
Sure.
sure. I can stay. Yes, I'll stop the recording.